Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion, this time from March 28th, 2022. More information has came out recently here today, and the Storm Prediction Center has reflected on that with outlooks from days 2 through 4, with a 2 out of 5 in the severe weather scale here on Tuesday to the 29th, a 3 out of 5 in the severe weather scale with a chance of significant weather on Wednesday the 30th, and a 15% chance of severe weather on Thursday the 31st. All that information and more will be coming up in just a bit, but before we get started, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest weather information, especially as we get further and further into the spring season, because severe weather will become more and more active, and the threat for tornadoes will continue to increase and increase. And so as we get more and more into the heart of the spring season, we will continue to be updating you guys more and more on this channel. So please be sure to do that and hit that thumbs up button down below to help me get this information out to more and more people on YouTube, essentially helping me spread information. And also be sure to copy the link to this video and share it with friends and family, social media, post it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so that we can continue to spread this even outside of YouTube. So without further ado, let's get into the simulated radar here. We're going to be looking at the North American model for the most part in tandem with the HRRR model. And we're going to take a look at the lead up to this event here before it actually officially translates over. So let's take a look here with the simulated radar here from Monday afternoon into the evening, and then eventually in towards Tuesday morning. You see a lot of scattered showers and even snow showers across the board here in towards portions of practically the western United States. If you cut the entire United States in half and split it, the western side of it is probably going to see some sort of precipitation, whether it is snow or rain. And then eventually, as this continues to move on through, you can see our low pressure system start to materialize and create a bit of a counterclockwise spin here, with a lot of wintry precipitation up in the north, and then the developing severe weather in towards the south. And we're going to zoom in a little bit closer here to try and time things out officially, so you can see how things really start to kind of materialize here. Let's see, not quite yet, not quite yet. There we are. Now we have a line of storms that develop over here in Oklahoma all the way down towards Texas. Also, be mindful of these cells up here in towards Nebraska as well. Portions of Lincoln and Omaha, as well as areas along the border of Nebraska and Iowa. You guys definitely need to watch out for the potential of some severe weather across your area, maybe even a little bit sooner than this general time frame right now. But then, as you can see, this starts to become a lot more widespread as it moves towards the midnight and past the midnight hours, to where this long line starts to elongate from the border of Kansas and Oklahoma, and then all the way down through, pushing off in towards portions of Arkansas and Louisiana. You also saw that portions of Kansas did not get a whole lot of severe weather, and that was mainly because if you paid attention to my video on Friday, you actually noticed that there was a little bit of a limiting factor in the atmosphere and how that prevented a lot of these showers and thunderstorms from forming to begin with. And that's kind of the same thing here. Your storms really don't form until you get towards the Wichita areas and maybe even towards the general vicinity of Topeka as well. So that's just something that we're going to have to continue to monitor for the most part. But the real severe weather threat is down further south. You can see the line that extends from Joplin and Springfield all the way down in towards the central portions of Texas. Now that will eventually continue to push on through and even get in towards portions of Arkansas, even in towards the deep south, where you can see a very strong line of storms start to move on through here. And that will basically be a very strong damaging wind threat, as well as the threat for embedded tornadoes along this line. If you guys remember the threat that occurred on the 22nd, we had a lot of supercells that formed inside the line. They produced a lot of strong tornadoes inside that line too. And I have a feeling that we're going to see something very similar to that. I think a lot of these storms out in front of the line will not be able to really develop until they're a little bit further towards the north, and that'll be a small window of opportunity, if any, for them to actually form tornadoes. So I think the majority of your tornadoes will actually form along this line, but do not forget about these storms out in front of this line either, all right? I think that there is the potential for stuff to form there. I just think the majority of the tornadoes are going to be from this line right here. You can see the line really starts to push off and intensify here from the afternoon hours into the evening, passing through central portions of Louisiana and Arkansas in towards Tennessee, Mississippi, and then further off towards Alabama and into portions of Kentucky as well. And that's when things really kind of start to diminish there after the midnight hours, is when things really kind of start to break up a little bit. Now, as this continues to move on through, you see the line continue to try and gain traction, but then this is when things really start to get really interesting. Up here towards the mid-Atlantic, all right, there could be the potential for some severe weather over there, as well as down into portions of the Carolinas as well. And if you see, there actually is the threat for severe weather according to the Storm Prediction Center on day 4. There's a 15% chance for severe weather over there. So what makes this event tick? Well, let's take a look at all the environmental factors here, and we're starting off with the 500 millibar wind shear, which is about 6 kilometers above ground level. This is our general flow of the atmosphere, where our jet stream actually is. And you can see we have a pretty good idea as to where our jet stream actually resides. We have this big dip in the jet stream over here in the northeast, creating a lot of snow squall conditions over there. Big pileup that occurred in towards portions of east central Pennsylvania. Praying for all the people who were impacted over there by that traffic pileup. But the good news is that this low pressure system is expected to move on through, and we're expected to get a high pressure system that'll pass on through just for a little bit of time. But the unfortunate thing is you can also see our big dip in the jet stream on the western half of the United States and our new low pressure system building over there. So let's play this out through here. You can see that finally that low pressure system moves out of the northeast here at about Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. But you also see that's when our other jet stream, or our other half of the jet stream and our low pressure system, starts to eject in towards portions of Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And that is when things really start to become significant once again. Our first low pressure system really starts to push on through, create a lot of significant wind shear over here in towards portions of Dixie Alley. And that wind shear continues to be significant even as this pushes on through and continues to wreak havoc further and further. So now let's take a look at a level a little bit lower than 500 millibars. So we're going to take a look at the 850 millibar shear here now, which is about 1 kilometer above ground level. And you can see there's also a high pressure system stationed over the Gulf of Mexico that's creating a lot of clockwise flow here. So what this thing is now doing is it's picking up a lot of moisture here in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's allowing it to rise further and further in towards portions of the central United States, and as well as even in towards the deep south too. And you'll see how that wind shear really starts to pick up here as we go from Monday into Tuesday, and then further on from Tuesday into Wednesday. Look at this, it becomes even more significant, especially as your low pressure system really starts to deepen on through and actually start to intensify as it moves off towards the Great Lakes. That low-level jet here present across much of the central United States will continue to be rather significant, and it'll actually amplify as it goes in towards the afternoon and evening hours of Wednesday before it finally continues to move off on Friday. So portions in between Tuesday and Thursday, all right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are severe weather for the wind shear aspect of this. The wind shear is in place for severe weather to exist. Now, I mentioned that moisture is going to return in towards central portions of the United States as well as in towards the deep south. And you can actually see that here with our dew points. Our dew points now start to rise further and further north. You can see how across the board there is some dew points in upwards of 60s, and then there's some dew points in upwards of the 50s. And so you want dew points at around 60 or above in order for you to get severe weather. And the reason why there isn't expected to be as big of a severe weather threat here tomorrow is because you don't really have a lot of the moisture enough to support it. I mean, you do have some in upwards of the 60s, but in some other areas, it's below that. It's in towards the 50s, and it's not expected to be really too significant. But then as this translates from Tuesday into Wednesday afternoon, there is a very confined belt of moisture here riding along that line that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. And that is basically going to continue to supply this with more and more energy as this pushes on through. Maybe even a line of severe weather over here across portions of Illinois in towards Missouri, maybe severe weather for portions of St. Louis, and then maybe another line even behind this, a smaller cold front that'll continue to exist even behind all of that. But I think the areas to watch here, all right, once again, the line is where you're probably going to get the most tornadoes. What about your strongest tornadoes, all right? Where could you find those? I have a feeling that right over here, the richest environment down here, I would say a little bit more towards portions of southern Mississippi in towards northeastern or at least extreme eastern Louisiana. That is probably my target area if I were to chase like prefrontal convection. Some showers and thunderstorms that form out in front of the line is what prefrontal convection basically is. So definitely something to watch out for with that. But I mean, look at that. A lot of moisture still present out in front of this, and dew points in upwards of the mid to upper 60s evident as well. Now, what about stuff like energy? All right, what about the energy levels of the atmosphere for thunderstorms to either form or sustain? We call that convective available potential energy, or CAPE. And you want about 1,500 to 1,800 joules per kilogram of CAPE in order for you to really get that severe weather. And as we see here, as this progresses, you see we have some over here in the portions of Kansas. We have about 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram of CAPE in some of these areas. And that continues to kind of linger here for the most part and continue to be evident. And this actually extends further and further down south into portions of Texas too. So there is the potential for severe weather to exist. But if we're talking about significant severe weather, I mean, the only area that I really see a lot of CAPE is this little area over here near the triple point, which would be near like Salina, Kansas. That is where there could potentially be a rogue shower thunderstorm, maybe a supercell that can try and form on through. But there is a huge limiting factor in the environment at this time that is kind of plaguing things. So it's really hard for me to say specifically as to if there's going to be any strong thunderstorms out before this big line moves on through. But as you can see, there's a plethora amount of CAPE that continues to exist across much of that area and into the evening. So that is something to watch out for. And then, of course, as we go on into Wednesday, well, what about the CAPE numbers over there? There is some, all right, there is some on the southern end of this event, all right? You see there is some that also leak off in towards portions of northern Mississippi as well. But once again, not as much CAPE that is anticipated with this event here, according to the North American model. Now, I'm personally expecting this to change. I think there's going to be a little bit more CAPE than what the models actually anticipate here, but it's still going to be something to really watch out for as to whether or not some of these showers and thunderstorms can form out in front of it and continue to sustain. That's going to be the main question, and I think it's going to be something similar to what we saw last week, to where these thunderstorms form and then they don't really like mature until they are very far up north, more than likely past the I-20 areas and even further north than that. So something to watch out for with that general vicinity. So what about my friends up here in Canada? Well, let's go see what you guys got. Got a lot of snow showers that are anticipated to really linger across much of the general area of Alberta, as well as Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And that'll continue to move off through in towards Ontario, even towards areas in the upper Midwest and the northern plains. A lot of frozen precipitation expected up here, and that'll continue to move off through your area from Tuesday morning into Wednesday. From Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and that'll continue to be the case. You'll see it start to kind of fade off towards the late morning hours of Wednesday in towards Wednesday night, and then that'll start to move in towards areas of Ontario as well as even further to Quebec. But some areas to not slouch at is this stuff over here. You see a lot of the salmon and pink colors. That is a lot of wintry mixed precipitation, ice, sleet, freezing rain. That all stuff is going to fall more than likely out in front of the main line of storms, and then you'll see rain move on through, and then more snow that comes in even behind this from Wednesday night into Thursday morning as well. So potential icy conditions even for this storm, even after the rain moves on through, because it'll begin to refreeze as this continues to push off. And then, of course, a lot more snow showers anticipated across much of the areas of Ontario and Quebec still. Snow totals are really interesting here. You can see that some areas potentially over in towards Iowa and even into Wisconsin could be about a foot of snow, or maybe even higher than that, over into some of your areas, even towards La Crosse and further off towards areas near Green Bay and north of Green Bay. And then, of course, areas over here and towards Ontario, heading off towards the Hudson Bay. You guys are expected to get a lot of snow widespread over there too. I would say an upwards of about 30 to 40 centimeters of snow possible in your area, so that is something to definitely watch out for. And then the freezing rain totals. I mean, look at this. A lot of freezing rain possible over here, especially towards areas of the Great Lakes. There could be even over an inch of freezing rain possible. That is some significant amounts of ice, and I would highly advise you do not travel under those conditions, or at least while they are present. So please be sure to be mindful as this system continues to move on through. So what happens after the storm moves on through? Well, you see there's a little bit of a dip in the jet stream here towards portions of Friday morning and towards Friday afternoon. Maybe a little bit of a localized severe weather event somewhere over here towards portions of the eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, maybe even portions of Texas and the Ozarks. So that is something to watch out for. I wouldn't expect that to be super significant. You can see how the wind shear is relatively minimal. But then this is when things start to become a little bit of a pattern. There's a new low pressure system that develops right here, another low pressure system that develops right here. And this is going to kind of cut across portions of the central and northern United States. It's not really going to touch the southern portions of the United States a whole lot until we start to get towards the beginning of next week. This new low pressure system comes down south and cuts across the southern portions of the United States. So that is going to be something to watch out for, more than likely from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th, and then an atmospheric river up here in towards the Pacific Northwest. Definitely something to watch out for with you guys, as potential for flooding could exist starting from Monday all the way through into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is possible, but it's definitely expected to kind of alleviate towards the latter stages of next week, but it's still quite a ways away. All right, we still have a lot of time for this to potentially change, but the beginnings of it, all right, the beginning of next week is something to really watch out for in regards to the patterns. This atmospheric river is possible, and so it is something to watch out for if you live up there in the beginning of next week. And then this low pressure system dipping is also possible, so portions of the southern United States after this band of severe weather that will move on through on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You could potentially get some more activity on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week as well. So hopefully you guys got a lot of information from this video. If you did enjoy the content, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest information. I will be starting a new video series every single morning. It's a 5-minute video that will be designated to people who are trying to get to work and they don't have a lot of time to listen towards weather news. This is something that is really quick and it's not really super in-depth, but it gets the point across that tells you what you could potentially expect for the weather, or at least what type of weather news. So I hope this video helped you guys out, got you a lot of information. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media, link will be in the description down below. I have now started a new video series. Every single morning, there will be a short 5-minute or so video that will be designated for people who have to go to work and they don't really have a lot of time to watch a video or something like that. It's a short 5-minute video designated for people who are in rush hour and stuff like that, and it gives you the weather news of what could potentially happen across the United States, as well as who are the areas that could be impacted, and even some just general weather news, what type of temperatures people could be anticipating and stuff like that, yada yada. It'll be a nice update video for people who are looking just for a quick briefing as to what you guys could potentially expect. So please be sure to tune into that every single morning. I will have it uploaded for you all, more than likely sometime around 6 or 7 in the morning. That way you guys can watch it whenever time you want to. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. So peace out.